Hey, everybody. Welcome to MuscleTech Muscle Talk. Excellent guest today. He's one of the new athletes to join the MuscleTech family. Please welcome all the way from the United Kingdom, the Brick, Lewis Breed. How are you, Lewis?
Hey, Ron. I'm good, mate. How are you?
Doing well, doing well. So I looked into your story, and you have quite a cool beginning, because some of us did start out smaller, but you were even smaller than the rest of us for the most part. According to an article I read in some British publications online, you were only 5 stone, which turns out to be 70 pounds for you Americans out there, and God knows how many kilos for everybody else, at age 15, with a resting heart rate of 28. That's crazy. And so what was the cause of all that? It turned out it was a bunch of allergies that you had that you didn't know about?
Yeah, it was. I was an avid sort of soccer player, and then gradually just became a little bit unwell over a course of time, but never had a lot of tests done through the NHS, but they never could find the root of the problem, but they never actually did an allergy test. So I spent months and months just losing weight because they were trying to feed me all these calories because I was losing weight, even to the point where I was losing that much weight, I was bedridden for a month. They wouldn't allow me to walk because they were worried I was burning too many calories.
Wow.
Yeah, so it was tough time. And my weight plummeted, my body shut down, and the resting heart rate was actually 24 beats per minute. So the body completely shut down. Long story short, we managed to get to the bottom of it. Turned out I was allergic to gluten, wheat, and lactose at the time. So pretty much everything. So once we adjusted that and took those things into consideration, changed the diet, naturally sort of the weight went back on. And that's sort of how I fell into bodybuilding, because I have to be so sort of specific with my nutrition. Bodybuilding was a fantastic route for me because it still allowed me to, do some sort of fitness and exercise, but you had to be so particular with your nutrition,
Yeah. So, but bodybuilding, most people wouldn't think bodybuilding. That just wouldn't occur to. What were your influences at the time? I know this would have been about 20 years ago or so, 21 years. So I imagine the Dorian Yates era was still, he wasn't, I think his Olympia reign was over, but I'm sure he was still a very, very huge, iconic figure.
He was still huge because obviously he was British as well. You should see how hard he trained. So he was a massive sort of, a massive idol for me. But I grew up when it was Jay Cutler and Ronnie Coleman.
Okay.
That was when I got into the sport, you know what I mean? So I was always drawn towards Jay Cutler. He was my sort of idol, if you will. That was the era I sort of got into the sport and sort of fell in love with the training side of it more than anything.
Yeah. So when did you realize that you had some special ability or talent for bodybuilding that most of the other young guys in the gym did not have?
I think it was the case, obviously, being down to sort of 70 something pounds. That was when I was unwell, but my natural sort of weight was about, when I went into the gym, I was about 110, 120 pounds. Okay. So still very, very tiny. But within the first year, I think I put on sort of like 40, 50 pounds within the first year, just through training and eating. So that was when I sort of just got the bug for it. And then I had a few sort of the older guys who'd competed and things like that saying, oh, you should do this show. You should do that show, and then when I was 18, I did my first sort of local show. But I didn't just win the juniors. I won the whole show. I won the overall men's category as well. And I was only 18 at the time. So, maybe I'm quite good at this.
Yeah. Awesome. Yeah. 2008, you won the British Juniors, which is very prestigious. I know Flex Lewis was another past junior British champion. I'm sure there's a couple more you could rattle off that I'm just unaware of.
Yeah, well, basically the year before I won it, the Nathan Diasha won it.
Oh, okay.
Then I won it, and then the year after I won it, James Hollinghead won it.
There you go. That's like an all-star camp.
So we sort of grew up. Exactly. And we grew up in the sport together. They sort of continued on with the sport, whereas I didn't compete for 7 years. I took 7 years out. Just work, family, you know what I mean? Just things weren't in the right place to be able to commit myself to bodybuilding. So I took 7 years away from the stage, and the likes of Nathan and James, they kept going and obviously made it to the level, you know, they've been at for the last few years. Whereas because I took so much time out, I've had to play catch up.
Yeah. Well, I mean, at the same time, those 7 years of not beating your body up with contest preps, you know, you have I think a fresher look to the physique. You're younger in terms of the career, I think.
Yeah.
You really just, until last year, I give Giles Thomas all the credit. I had no idea who you were until last year when you just exploded on the scene. Yeah. Let's talk about some other stuff before we get into that, though. You actually have 6 kids. I'm fascinated by that because I have 2, and that's plenty for me. 6 kids, man. How do you balance? And are you still a gym owner as well with this breed physique?
No. I sold the gym just before the COVID sort of scenario hit. So I sold the gym just before that. And yeah, I have 6 kids. 3 are mine, 3 are sort of step kids with my partner. But they're with us a lot of the time. So it's a crazy household, but you know, because I have my partner, she's a massive help. Especially when you get deep into prep and when I'm traveling with the sport, you know, she plays a massive part in, you know, keeping the stability and keeping the kids, you know, happy and entertained while I'm in those deeper stages of prep. But I still try and find a balance. You know, a week out from a show, I was on a holiday with the kids, 7 days out from a competition. You know what I mean? I still always try to make sure that, you know, the kids always come first.
Yeah. Wow. So you must have had just, you know, containers of food at arm's reach at all times on that trip, I'm guessing. No?
Oh, yeah. Everything's pre-prepared. I'd get up in the morning before the kids woke up, went to the gym, did cardio. You know what I mean? I'd go back to the gym when they were in bed, do my posing, you know what I mean? So it's just a case of fitting it in.
Yeah. I mean, this is good for people here because I know people out there, any excuse they have for, well, I can't eat the way a bodybuilder eats because I have kids and this and that. And take care of 6 kids here, and you're one of the top pros in the world right now. So come on now. It can be done.
It's simple fact, Ron, it all depends on how much you want it. You know, if you want it bad enough, you'll do everything in your power to make that happen. You know, people with excuses, unfortunately, in my opinion, don't want it bad enough.
It's true. I'm just curious if you're familiar with an old American TV show called The Brady Bunch.
Yes.
Okay, because it's a similar situation. It was a man with 3 sons, married a woman with 3 daughters, and together they became the Brady Bunch. Yeah. So I didn't know if everybody knew about the Brady Bunch. One thing you would talk about with Giles, but I want to talk about is your bodybuilding career. It was going pretty well as a pro. You know, you just updated me on some of the shows in 2022, which was only not even 2 years ago at this point. So I guess you turned pro in 2021 at the Ben Weider show in London, which I think was Giles a judge at that show for Classic, I think at least. Yeah. So that was where Wesley Visser's term. Was that where he turned? No, that was before that. Yeah. But anyway.
I think he turned pro before that.
Yeah. He's been a pro for a little longer than that. I think it was a couple of years. So in 2022, you did okay. You did Spain show, you got 7th, and Prague 9th, and Romania Muscle. But between then and 2023, you had a breakthrough. Last year, crazy leap up in placings. Tampa Pro, you got 3rd place behind Hunter Labrada, and it was Jonathan, right, in 2nd? Jonathan De La Rosa?
Yeah, John De La Rosa.
Texas Pro, another star-studded lineup, 4th place behind Andrew Jacked, Hunter again, and I can't recall who was 3rd in that show. Anyway, you were 4th. Oh, it was Carlos Thomas Jr. What am I saying? Carlos
Thomas, yeah.
So you had gone to Dubai and spent some time there to work on your physique. Was that in between the 2022 and 2023 shows?
Yeah, it was. When we shut down the 2022 shows, which is in sort of, I think there was October they finished. I had a little bit of a break. And then in January, It was my wife's decision more than I. She said you need to go away and make the improvements necessary to, move from that second call out into that first call out. So I spent 3.5 months in Dubai, just living bodybuilding, eat, sleep, train. That's literally all I did, and it worked well because my stage weight was 15 pounds up in 2023 compared to 2022.
Wow. In one season. Wow. That's amazing. So how did it come about? I mean, I know Kuwait is just that one gym.
Yeah, so I gained 50.
Yeah, I'm sorry, go ahead. Yeah, I was saying Kuwait was the place where everybody was going. And I think lately it's moved to Dubai. I don't know if you've been to both places, but why do you think Dubai has become sort of the new place for everyone to go if they really want to focus 100% on improving as a bodybuilder?
For me, there's a couple of reasons. One, everything is so accessible, in terms of, because I would be in my apartment and I would have, nurses come round 24/7, hook me up to vitamin IV drips. People would come around and give cold water therapy, and, all the sort of recovery therapy is just at your fingertips. It's so easy. Obviously, the gyms, there's a couple out in Dubai, are absolutely incredible. But not only that, the social media aspect in Dubai is massive. And we all know now in this sport, your social media presence does play a part, in building yourself as an athlete, building yourself as a brand. So that's probably, I believe, why people have ventured more towards Dubai rather than just Kuwait, because Kuwait is almost sort of behind closed doors, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah.
Whereas Dubai is very much in the limelight.
Yeah, I haven't been to either place, but getting feedback from people who have been to both, seems like Kuwait, there's literally like nothing else to do. It's almost like, I'm not saying prisoner, that's not the right word, but they're literally just either in their apartment eating and sleeping, or they're at the gym training. There's like nothing else. Where Dubai, I imagine, did you ever go out on the town and see the skyscrapers and all that stuff? Yeah. Yeah,
I did. So it's a little bit of a little better balance, I think. But the gyms are incredible. And, there's a lot of people that the gym that I train at when I'm there's a lot of guys that train at Andrew Jack, for one. He trains there. Sergio Oliva was there until he's recently sort of moved to Spain. Vlad, the big Ukrainian, he trains there. And there's always top guys coming in and out of that gym all the time. So you're around a lot of like-minded people, which does, play a huge part.
Oh, 100%. Now, are you planning on going back there again soon?
I'll probably be back there within the next sort of couple of weeks. Spend a bit of time there. I'm going to spend a bit more time in America as well. I was fortunate enough to, spend some time with Flex Lewis at the Dragon's Lair and spend some time at Destination Dallas in Texas. Both of the gyms are incredible. So I do plan to head back there and get a few sessions in with some of the guys. So I'm going to do a little bit of traveling to and fro this year before I sort of hit the season hard.
Yeah. What you said about how it was your wife's idea to go to Dubai, it reminds me a lot of what happened with Brandon Curry a few years back. Brandon Curry was sort of a B-level pro, and then his wife, Brand, he had the opportunity to go to Kuwait. Yeah. He was hesitant because they have 4 kids, young kids, and he didn't want to leave her alone with the kids. She said, go. Yeah. This is what needs to be done. And, your wife, very, very similar, in your corner telling you, it's okay, you can leave me with the 6 kids, which is crazy. Leave me with the 6 kids and go do what you have to do to become a better bodybuilder and get to that next level in your career. So props to it's Holly.
It takes a certain type of woman to be able to do that. But it's funny you say that, because she said to me, you need to go away and do a Brandon Curry. That was her words. Because he knew about the Brandon Curry situation with the oxygen gym. So, that was her words, and it was definitely her idea.
Yeah. So your first show after that was Tampa, correct?
Tampa, yes.
Yeah. Yes. So what was that like getting I don't think you'd had a first call out as a pro prior to that moment. What was it like being in that first call out with, the winners there and, you're in the mix. You ended up in the top 3. So you must have known immediately by the way you were placed, things were going to be very, very different for you this time.
Yeah, it's completely. I'd had the pleasure of meeting Hunter and sort of training with Hunter in that week leading up to the show. And we'd like pose down at the end of the workouts together. And, you know, as fantastic as Hunter is, I was stood next to him and realized that, I can stand next to these guys, you know what I mean? So that gave me a lot of confidence running into that show. And when your name gets called out in that first.
Yeah. What was it like getting that first call out with Hunter and John, where you knew you were in the mix for a top 3 finish for the first time?
Yeah, well, me and Holly, we set a sort of a 3-year game plan. Year 1, as in last year, was supposed to have been first call out top 6. Then year 2 was top 3. And then year 3 was Olympic qualification. So we already skipped a year in our eyes because we'd already nipped inside that top 3, you know. So it was a massive, because like when you're at the level where you're not quite in that mix, you get in the second call outs, that dream is to hear your name in that first call out, you know. So when they called Hunter, John and me, like, I was inside, I was buzzing, you know what I mean? I think it showed on stage, you know. I just oozed even more confidence then because I knew I was in the mix, you know. And when you're away from the family for 3-4 months at a time, you know what I mean? Yeah. You know, if I was to do the show and the results still didn't go sort of towards my favor, you'd be a bit more disappointed. But you know what I mean? You feel like that time away from the family, it was all worthwhile in that moment. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And then 2 weeks later was Texas, I think. Yeah,
Texas was 2 weeks after that.
Yeah, similar situation.
Yeah,
first
week or 2 weeks. Yeah, 2 weeks.
Yeah, and again, first call out, right? Yeah. So
first call out, and again there was big names as well. So
so you know, we're all very analytical as bodybuilders, and you see, here's how I compared to these guys, and I want to beat these guys in the future. What sort of goals did you set once you were done competing for the 2023 season, as far as improvements do you want to make for this season?
Yeah, I mean, it's not a case of, I had a big off season last year. I got very, very heavy, you know, but that was the goal, to try and stack on enough muscle to stand next to these guys. So it's not necessarily that I lack muscle now. I think I've got enough muscle, you know, to stand next to these guys, but it's just about refining things. I did speak to a couple of the judges, and they said, and I spent some time with Flex Lewis, and he agreed, because of my lack of mobility, I'm not opening up in certain shots, and I think I lost some points in the back shots. I'm not great at opening up the lats, opening up my back in the rear double. So one of the biggest things is flexibility and mobility, actually. It's one of the biggest things I've focused on this year. So I'm able to really open up and showcase everything that I've got. So that's one of the biggest things we're focusing on this year.
Right. Cool. I mean, that's an easy fix. I mean, some people, it's like, I need 20 more pounds of muscle. I need a back, or I need a leg.
Yeah, it's nice to know that, you know, I can just focus on that and improve my physique that way without having to worry about trying to stack on so much muscle, you know, and getting really heavy in the off season. You know, things become a struggle then. So it's nice to know I haven't got to do that. Obviously, as you still want a little bit more muscle in certain areas, we all do, just to create that, you know, that slightly more symmetrical package. You know, I want a little bit more flare in the lat, a little bit more tricep, you know, so there's little things that I'm still obviously wanting to improve on, but I don't need to go crazy, you know, pushing that off season to gain, you know, a stack load of muscle, which is a nice place to be in.
Sure. So people love to hear the numbers. What was the heaviest you got in the off season, and what did you compete at last summer? Yeah,
well, so let's go American. We'll go pounds, should we?
Yes,
so
please.
My stage weight was 245. And I'm 5'7", so I'm not the tallest of guys.
Yeah.
So I was 245. Dude. My off season was at my peak. At my peak, it was 285.
Oof, wow, it's a lot of weight. That's a big dude.
Which at 5'7" was quite uncomfortable. But I knew I had to get uncomfortable in order to add the tissue I needed.
Yeah, I mean that's like Nick Walker in the off season, basically.
Yeah. So
same exact numbers. He's about I think he's a little under 5'7", I want to say, but it's about the same. You guys are about the same roughly size. Yeah. The Brick is a great nickname. Who gave you that nickname, and how did you get it? How long have you been known as the Brick?
It was actually Giles. Back in 2022. It was he was doing the live stream.
Yeah.
And I came out on stage and he went, God, this man is thick as a brick. It just kind of summed my physique up. And I was like, I really like that. So we're going to roll with that because it does sum my physique up. You know what I mean? I'm not, I know my strengths and my weaknesses. So, thick as a brick just, really sort of rolled off the tongue and certainly, suited my physique. So I've got Giles to thank for that.
That's a good one, Giles. Good job, Giles. So we're only in, we're speaking now. It's sort of heading into late January, but do you already have a target show picked out, or are you kind of waiting to see what goes on with the Dubai trip and all that before you commit to a show?
I have got some sort of, I'd love to do Tampa and Texas again. Just because they're great shows, so I definitely want to do that. But we're looking at one or two just before that, so possibly one in Europe. If not, we're looking at the Chicago possibly. So maybe one or two there, and then definitely the Tampa and Texas again. So it still gives me another 2 or 3 months yet, to improve that mobility, improve that flexibility. Work on refining the physique a little bit before I have to worry about, dialing that condition in.
Yeah. One thing that it's always been a subject of debate is, do the British bodybuilders train harder than pretty much anybody else? And you could make some solid arguments. Dorian, one of the hardest training bodybuilders of all time. James Hollingshead right now, extremely hard training. I've seen other guys like Nathan, Jordan Peters, for goodness sake. And I've seen some of your training clips, and you're a very hard training guy. Where does that come from, that mentality, that work ethic to really go just as hard as possible with those heavy weights?
Yeah, I don't know. It is like sort of the UK, because James Hollingshead, Jordan Peters, Nathan, we're all about the same age. So we all grew up within the sport together. So I think it was just before the sort of Instagram days. So we would look at, the magazines and see Branch Warren and, Johnny Jackson and, you know what I mean? And so, and because a lot of the gyms in the UK, they're what you call spitting sawdust, old school, metal weights clanging around, you know what I mean? So it just gives you that vibe. And I just, I became a bodybuilder because I love to train, you know what I mean? So I fell into bodybuilding because I love to train. I love to push myself to the limits within the gym. So that's why I've built sort of this sort of physique. And I think that level of training shows in the physique, that thick sort of dense look, which James has got, which Dorian had, you know what I mean? Even Jordan, although he doesn't really compete anymore, they all have that you all have that similar sort of look. You can normally tell when somebody really trains hard through the look of their physique, can't you? And I like that look. One of my biggest, idols is definitely Branch Warren. That real sort of dense physique, and that man trained hard. You know what I mean? So I definitely emulate a lot of my style of training off of the likes of Dorian and Branch.
Yeah. Again, people love these numbers, especially because they all lift weights and they like to compare themselves. But in pounds, if you could, because these Americans like me, that's all we know is pounds. We don't know kilos. What are some of the top lifts that you've done for reps in the gym?
Oh God! Now you're talking in pounds. I don't know the conversion because we're kilos in the UK. With
kilos, and I'll do the math. It's 2.2 kilos per pound, so we can do the math if you. I can actually do it. 2.2,
isn't it?
I think I can do it right here, actually, with my handy dandy calculator app. Yeah. Okay. So go for it. Give me some kilos.
2.2, isn't it? 2.2 pounds per kilo.
Yep. So,
I don't bench. I don't bench the last few years because of slight injury, but bench 230 kilos.
How many?
230.
Okay. Oof. That is 506 pounds. Whew. Good Lord. Okay.
Yeah, that's a top
give me one
bench.
more. Give me like a squat or a leg press. Squat would be best if possible.
Oh. Yeah, a squat, what's that?
Give me kilos.
7-plate squat for reps. So
7 plates. Okay.
That's 300 kilo.
Okay. If you give me plates, I know because the 20 kilogram plates are the 45-pound plates here. So 7 plates, that's 685.
Yeah. So like a 7-plate squat.
Wow. That's crazy. And I mean, how do you stay injury free? What are some therapies or deep tissue chiropractic? What are some things that you do on a regular basis to keep everything tuned up?
Yeah, I mean, I had the fact that there's so many different machines in the gym now. Certain movements, unfortunately, I do have to stay away from now through to like little niggles. But touch wood, I've only had sort of niggles. I've never had any sort of serious injuries because the joints take a hammering. You know what I mean? When you lift heavy, the joints naturally take a hammering. So it's learning that, I don't always lift that heavy. I need to scale back on the weight and allow sort of a little bit of downtime, a little bit of recovery for the joints. So I don't always do that. But obviously physiotherapy, on a regular basis is a must to try and sort of keep the muscle as supple as possible. But listening to my body, because my joints do play up. So if I go into the gym and things are not right, I'm not going to do a heavy lift. I'm going to choose a different exercise. It'll annoy me because I like to do those heavy lifts, but I got to think longevity. I'm not getting any younger. So it's not always about those big lifts nowadays, unfortunately.
How old are you now, Lewis?
I'm 35 now.
Oh, that's the prime. That's the best age.
Oh, yeah. I've got a good few years till I reach my peak.
Yeah. I mean, this is like bodybuilders used to peak in their 20s years ago. And now it's between I'd say 32 and 42. Those are like the years most guys now are at their very best, oddly enough. But let's talk muscle.
Yeah, agreed.
How'd you become part of the MuscleTech family, Lewis?
Yeah, massive. It was running into the prep this year. I got a couple of messages and they would like a lot of my things. We all know MuscleTech, especially if you've been in the game for a long time. MuscleTech used to sponsor all the biggest when I grew up in the sport, they sponsored everybody. Jay Cutler, Phil Heath, Dexter Jackson, Branch Warren, all those names were sponsored by MuscleTech. So I've always followed MuscleTech. I've always used their products over the years because they are, one of the biggest and longest serving brands within the bodybuilding industry. So when they sort of contacted me and said, you working with anyone, we'd love to get you on board. How could I not say no? Yes to a brand like MuscleTech, and they've been brilliant. Since I joined the team, me and Blessing were out in Dubai. We were doing the Dubai Muscle Show. They've got a few other things, FIBO and possibly an Arnold Classic this year with them. So really excited for this year. Love the products, obviously, and doing a lot of traveling with the team. I'm very grateful and very excited.
What are the MuscleTech products you use every day?
Every day, just the basics, just good quality. Either the ISO Way or the NitroTech Gold. Because I do have 2 or 3 shakes throughout the day. I always like the standard. I'm just the basic glutamine, creatine, amino acids. They're a staple in my daily routine constantly. I do like the hydroxycut in the morning. Pre cardio. Just to burn, just to get things moving first thing in the morning, especially in prep last time. When you're absolutely knackered, a little bit of the hydroxycut in the morning to get you through that cardio. So they're the staple products that I always use without fail.
Okay. Did you get a chance to try the limited edition whey protein NitroTech's flavors called dulce de leche or churro?
No, I haven't tried those because they're American. However, we had the limited edition in Europe. The limited edition in Europe, which was white chocolate, raspberry, and salted caramel.
Oh, okay. I didn't know we had different flavors in different continents. That's interesting.
Yes.
Wow. I guess churros. Who would want to eat a churro in UK anyway, right? So the Mexican treat. So man, it's very exciting to have. New talent is what really keeps the sport fresh and exciting. And I know you're not completely new. You've been around a couple of years, but as far as I'm concerned, you were a breakout star for 2023. I'm fully expecting 2024 to be an even better year for you. And I like the fact that you have this balanced life, kids, partner at home, running your coach. You're an online coach as well. You do a lot more than just train, eat, and sleep, which most people, they're never going to have that chance to just do that anyway. So we need guys like you to look to for inspiration in that area. So I thank you so much for the time, Lewis. I know you're a busy guy, especially 6 kids. Wow, I can't get over the 6-kid thing. Everybody who has a certain amount of kids, I bet if you heard of somebody that had 7 kids, you'd be like, oh my God, 7 kids, even though you have 6. Anything more than what you have, that's crazy. How can you have that many kids? So, but props to you for keeping everything in balance, and very impressive physique. One of the best new physiques to come along in the sport in a long time. So really looking forward to seeing what you have in store for us for this year, 2024.
Yeah, I'm excited to show you all. It's going to be a big year. Thank you for having me, mate.
Cool. All right, everybody. Thanks for watching. Second episode of MuscleTech Muscle Talk with the Brick, Lewis Breed, and we'll see you next time.